Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach HaKodash, and double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace, love, salutations, and blessings to the house of David, which is the elect. And, as, we continue just to, watch, prophecy unfold, all right, being in these last moments of this, of these last days, right? The time of the end of this world, right? There's a lot of, things that Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai is doing, right? The visitation, right, of Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai upon the earth. And, we have the new development of the ceasefire, right, between Iran and the state of the 48ers, which took effect last night. Okay, although during the ceasefire, or right before the ceasefire, and in a time frame, and right after, you still had both nations, exchanging, dropping bombs on each other, right, exchanging blows. So we'll see, right, how long this ceasefire lasts, if it lasts at all. But at the end of the day, we know that prophecy prevails, right? And this is why, it's important to always, lean on the words of Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai, okay? Because the things that we seeing taking place is all according to the will of the Father. All right. And once you know the will of the Lord, then you know the way that things are going to go. All right. Even if there is moments where things, look as if it's easing up, or tensions are, lessening, still the Lord is dealing in the kingdoms of men. All right. And prophecy and what the word of the Lord said is what's going to take place. Right. And that's why we always resort back to the scriptures. All right. You can't look at these things with your own understanding. Right. The scriptures tells you that trust not, don't be wise in your own conceits. OK, let the Most High be true and every man a liar, especially Esau, Edom. But getting this real quick here in the book of Isaiah 55, verse 8, it says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are my ways your ways. Salakia, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord." Okay, and that is something that, is you always have to keep in your mind, right? Because when you see things play out, and it's a natural thing to do, right? Well, brothers, we do it all the time amongst each other, trying to see the different angles and ways that things could happen and how the Lord could bring this prophecy to pass or bring this prophecy to pass. And at the end of the day, we know the outcome, but we don't know the intricate details, right, of how the Lord has things taking place, right? As Paul said, we know in part and we prophesy in part. All right. So that's something also to always keep in mind. Now, the one thing I would say is we have a sure word of prophecy, right? A sure more word of prophecy in that even if, right, as we've seen, you have a ceasefire take place, we know, according to the word of the Most High, which we're going to read, that it's going to come to pass where this war is going to escalate and get to a point where it's going to be nuclear fire being nuclear missiles being launched, and ultimately the end of Esau's age and the complete destruction of Babylon the Great. We know how that's how the story, this portion of the story, I should say, ends. Okay, so, and I say that because you've had people that once they heard about the ceasefire, everybody was retweeting and resharing Donald Trump's post, right, about the ceasefire between the two nations has happened, and peace is coming, right? Let me see if I can find it. Donald Trump peace ceasefire tweet. Let's see if we could find some imagery on it. Iran, Israel. Let's see. So here we go. No, I just want that in itself. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just in case some people haven't seen it, it says, congratulations to everyone. Now, we know that Trump clearly is a liar, right? He's an Edomite, and the scripture tells you that they are the father, right, of lies, all right? And also it tells us to never trust thine enemy. So the things that, and it's already been shown that he would come out outright and say one thing and then do another, which is, known as a bold-faced lie. And that's what this devil does. So reading this, you need to take this with really a grain of salt, okay? Less than a grain of salt. And at the end of the day, understand that it is what the will of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, that's what's going to be done. So it says, congratulations to everyone. It has been fully agreed by and between the 48ers and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire in approximately 6 hours from now, when the 48ers and Iran have wound down and completed their final missions for 12 hours, at which point the war will be considered ended. Officially, Iran will start the ceasefire, and upon the 12th hour, the 48ers will start the ceasefire, and upon the 24th hour, an official end to the 12-day war will be saluted by the world. During the ceasefire, the other sides will remain peaceful and respectful. I just want to jump. It says this is a war that could have gone on for years and destroyed the entire Middle East, but it didn't and never will. God bless the 48ers. God bless Iran. God bless the Middle East. Blah, 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 blah. Right. And he also had another tweet where he said that they will never fight again. OK, he made, that statement as well, that the Iran and the 48ers will never, fight again in history, something to that effect, which once again is all, really speaking stoutly. Right. But going back to Isaiah 55, and I wanted to go to the point here, verse 11, it says, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. All right. And the Lord, he puts his word in the mouths of the prophets, pursuant to 2nd Esdras, the 15th chapter, as he told Esdras, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, for I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, for they are faithful and true, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. See? So the words that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai has given unto his servants, the prophets, to prophesy is something that is assured, is definite, okay, as they would say, is written in stone. And as he says, it shall not return unto him void, meaning it won't be a useless or an empty word. What the Lord says will happen, that's what's going to happen, and it's going to prosper in it. Meaning that no matter what the devices of a man's mind is, right? As it says in Proverbs, there are many devices in a man's heart, right? Proverbs 19, verse 21, there are many devices, meaning plans, and a man's heart, meaning his lab, right? That's the Hebrew word for mind. Nevertheless, the counsel of Yahweh, that shall stand. So you can see Donald Trump, saying these things, making these bold statements as if, he has the power, right? Or he has the capability of overriding the counsel of the Lord. All right. And that is something that the Lord right? As it says you in the book of Obadiah, that the pride of his heart it has deceived him, right? And it also tells us in Job that the deceived and the deceiver are his. So the Lord put it in Donald Trump's mind to make this statement, right? And he actually could very well believe it, okay? He could actually very well believe that the war is over, you see? But we understand and know of a surety that this isn't the end all be all. Now, when you know that, okay, as we do, and you see certain things, which is what I'm going to bring up, being stated, it shows how their verbiage and what they're saying contradicts what is happening. And it contradicts what is happening because what is happening is directed by the counsel of the Lord. See? So, for instance, as we see here, and this just came out earlier today, it says Iran's Atomic Energy Agency says this, quote, Iran's nuclear program will resume without interruption. We are ready to restart enrichment. Our program will not stop. All right, so this is the Atomic Energy Agency of Iran boldly and clearly stating that they're going to continue enriching, which is what the whole world, this whole incident, whole war, right, started over. The fact that they were trying to make, or should I say, they were having negotiations, and America was basically trying to tell Iran that you have to completely stop enrichment, and Iran is saying, no, we have a legitimate right to use nuclear power to enrich, for civil purposes. And we're not going to give that up just because you want us to. So that's why the whole world war started, right? The whole back and forth between Iran, which America got involved. And when America got involved, that was part of prophecy being fulfilled of the least of the flock drawing them out, right? Because once America got involved, you see how it caused a ripple effect within all of the world, right? Where you had nations such as Russia coming out and speaking against what America did and stating that that act of them bombing Iran's nuclear facilities will cause negative, unpredictable consequences. See, you had Medvedev, what's this guy's name? Medvedev, right? Medvedev state, which is who the Russia Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev, state that that Trump was basically playing with nuclear war, right? In the summary, right? Speaking about World War III and all these things. You see? So them stating this, that they're going to continue to enrich. Now, also, you have here, Trump stated this, and this was also earlier today.
President, did Iran make any commitments yesterday about uranium enrichment?
About what?
About uranium enrichment.
They're not going to have enrichment, and they're not going to have a nuclear weapon, and they know that. They're going to get on to being a great trading nation. They're very good traders, and they're going to be a great trading nation, and they have a lot of oil. They're going to do well. They're not going to have a nuclear weapon.
So did they
The
promise?
last thing on Iran's mind right now is nuclear weapons.
President,
So he
did
said the
Iran?
last thing on Iran's mind right now is nuclear weapons, right? He said that they're not going to have enrichment. So that goes completely contradictory toward of what they said. See? So knowing prophecy and knowing that it is the Lord's will for this war to get to a point where it's going to cause other nations to be drawn into it. And then seeing Iran say one thing about their nuclear program and Trump saying another thing, but then you have a ceasefire, goes to show you, well, there was actually no conclusion, or should I say, there was actually no agreement actually being made. So this ceasefire is clearly just a temporary thing. All right. So now when we go to this, which is a article basically backing up what Iran said, Iran vows uninterrupted nuclear enrichment as Russia's Lavrov suggests hiding stockpile. Oh, and another thing, you had Russia basically came to, Russia a couple months ago basically had an agreement to build nuclear plant in Iran. Let's see. Right. See? So this is 2 weeks ago. Russia has deal to build 8 nuclear power plants in Iran. So if you're building nuclear power plants, obviously that is to do what? For enrichment. So if Russia already has a deal, and this only came out about 2 weeks ago, to build nuclear power plants, and then Trump is saying that they're not going to have nuclear enrichment, that is that you're at an impasse, right? You're at an impasse. So the whole concept or mind of, oh, the war stopped, which you had people, like I said, they were tweeting, retweeting this, resharing this, right? People were in group chats is talking about, Trump just announced a ceasefire between Iran and Israel. Thank God. That goes to show you that people, and I'm saying that because I specifically saw somebody, say that. That goes to show you just how little people understand what the will of the Lord is, right? How ignorant they are to prophecy and the time that we're in. So even as things are clearly moving toward a devastating end of this age, right? Because that's how this age goes out with war. You still got people really still trusting in the words of man, right? Trusting in Egypt. You see? As a matter of fact, let's pull that up in 2 Kings 18, verse 20. It says, let me start at 19. It says, and Rabshakeh said unto them, speak ye now to Hezekiah, thus saith the great king, the king of Assyria, what confidence is wherein thou trusteth? All right. Thou sayest, but they are but vain words. I have counsel and strength for war. Now on whom do thou trust, that thou rebellest against me? Right? Because long story short, you had the Assyrians that were plundering. They already had at this point taken over the Samaria or the northern kingdom Israel, right? Displaced them and put other nations within them. They have plundered other nations around about, right? Like Hamath and other countries as well, right? Which they were boasting in. So you had a messenger for, I believe it was Sennacherib, which was the king at this point, came to Judea while Hezekiah was the king, and basically was saying, why are you rebelling, right? Well, why do you think that you have any type of way to come up against the king of Assyria, knowing what he has done, right, and knowing how he has plundered every nation that he went up against? See? So it says, but thou sayest, but they are but vain words. I have counsel and strength for war. Now on whom doest thou trust, and thou rebellest against me? Now behold, thou trusteth in the staff of this bruised reed. Because at this point you had you had Judah looking toward Egypt to join forces to go up against Assyria. But you have the king of Assyria, by way of this messenger, is telling Hezekiah and the Israelites of Judah, right, the southern kingdom, that you're trusting in Egypt, but this is a staff of this is a bruised reed, even upon Egypt, on which if a man lean, it will go through his hand and pierce it, so is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, unto all that trusteth on him. All right. And this is the position that our people are in. They're trusting in this modern day Egypt, which is Babylon the Great. They're trusting in the modern day Pharaoh, right, which is Donald Trump, and leaning upon his words as if they hold some weight, as if it's a staff that is strong enough to hold you down, so to speak. But just as this the messenger for the king of Assyria said, that you're leaning upon Egypt, and it's going to be as if a man leaned on this staff, right? And that, which is really a bruised reed. So a reed isn't a material that you use as a staff, right? You use, a wood, or, maybe a iron, something that is strong enough to hold your weight. You don't use a reed, okay, as a staff, because it can't uphold you, right? You go into what a reed is. Let's see. Reed. Plant. So this is what you have as a reed, right? Now, not only is this not something that is useful as a staff, but he called it a bruised reed. So something that it's already weakened, bruised. So how can you use this to uphold you, right? Clearly, as soon as you lean upon it, as he says, it's going to basically break, and then it's going to pierce in your hand. And then you're going to be in a worse position than you were before you even leaned upon it. Because now, not only do you have, now don't you have support, now your hand is injured. You see? So this is the position that a lot of people are in, thinking that, Trump is, had the capability of stopping this war, and we are now safe again. Not taking into account what the actual will of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai is. Not taking into account that the Lord said his word is not going to turn to him void. Not taking into account, right, what the Lord has professed through the prophets. Okay? They're taking counsel, but not of the Lord. Right? Isaiah 30, verse 1. See, Judah warned against Egyptian alliance. And that's what you have with our people today. They have aligned themselves with trusting in the shadow of Egypt, trusting in Esau, Edom, right? Like I said, the modern day Egyptians. So this is Isaiah 30, verse 1. Woe to the rebellious children, because even in this time, the Lord is still having mercy, right? He's still having compassion, because he still has the prophets prophesying and telling our people all of these things that you're seeing taking place is a part of the will of the Lord. And the will of the Lord is to have Babylon destroyed. And those, as it is said in Isaiah, the 13th chapter, those that are joined unto it is going to also fall, right? Let's pull that up real quick. Isaiah 13, verse 14. It says, Salakia 15, goes to the point. Everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. See? So you making your alliance, right, or trusting in Egypt, all these things is you aligning, right, yourself or joining yourself with Babylon the Great, instead of, spiritually disconnecting via taking heed unto the word of the Lord and repenting. All right. And that is you being rebellious against Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, against your God. So it says, woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord, that take counsel, but not of me, that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin. See, you're taking counsel of what Trump says. Oh, thank God, Trump, they got a ceasefire. Okay. He's talking about peace and safety, where the scriptures tells you that there is no peace. Let's pull that up. I have it here. Isaiah chapter 48, Where is it? I just pull it back up here. Isaiah 48, verse 22. It says, "There is no peace, saith Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, unto the wicked." All right. So you're looking for peace for Babylon, for America, for the inhabitants of America, right? Who are joined unto the mindset of America, which is completely against the way and will and righteousness of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. You're not going to get peace. We're not in a time of peace. We're not in a time of prosperity for the wicked, right? We're in a time of judgment. Okay, that is why, as it says in 2nd Ezra, the 9th chapter, when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou well understand it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the earth. So we've seen these signs, part of the signs that the Lord told us past. We're seeing end time prophecy take place, right? We're seeing the warnings that Yahweh Shai in Matthew the 24th chapter, Luke the 21st chapter has told us to look out for as being signs of the end of this world and the return, of him, okay, which will bring the end of the wicked and establish the kingdom of heaven on earth, which is righteousness. We're seeing all of these things happen. Now, we also know that there are certain prophecies that must precede, right, the end of this age, namely the mark of the beast being implemented. But we can clearly see that this is that time where these things will be fulfilled. So why are you thanking God for a ceasefire as if it's the will of the Lord that these nations don't go to war? That is contrary to the will of the Lord, pursuant to Zephaniah the 3rd chapter. Wait ye upon me, saith the Lord, until the day that I rise up to the prey, for my determination is to gather the nations. That's the Lord's determination. And when you go into that word determination, it also means his counsel or his plan, right? That's on his agenda, and nobody can stay his hand. So going here, let's run through this real quick. On Tuesday, the head of Iran's nuclear energy program vowed that the country will continue its nuclear program uninterrupted, despite the Trump-ordered weekend-heavy bombing of 3 key nuclear and uranium enrichment sites. So the bombing that America did on those nuclear sites, they're boasting as if it was a great success and those sites are no longer operable. But once again, you can't trust what you're seeing these devils speak, right? You can't trust their vain words. It says the AEOI head Mohammed Islami said on state television that plans for restarting the facilities have been prepared in advance and that measures ensuring continual productions are in place. Despite the evil conspiracies of its enemies, the AEOI said in a statement, this organization will not allow the path of development of this national industry to be stopped. Okay, the actions contrary to international law was unfortunately carried out in the shadow of indifference, and even with the cooperation of International Atomic Energy Agency, right? Let's see. It says, what guarantees are there that the IAEA will not leak this information to the U.S. or Israel? Right, because they were basically saying now that this happened, they're not even going to they're going to hide, from the IAEA inspectors, right? They're going to hide their nuclear facilities. So the actual reasoning for the war hasn't been solved. So how and why would this ceasefire be something that lasts, right? If the actual reasoning for the war and the reason why Trump ordered the bombing of those nuclear facilities wasn't, carried out. And then you had Trump said this, right? He says, we basically have two countries that's been fighting for so long and so hard that they don't know what the F they are doing. This is what your president of the United States said. Said, you understand that? And he got mad, right? Now, this could be, political theater, right? This could be just entertainment, whatever. But nonetheless, the actual cause of the war hasn't been resolved. And the fact that the Iranian Atomic Energy Organization is saying that they're about to just restart enrichment, boldly saying it shows you that this isn't over, okay? And anybody that thinks that this is over, you clearly are ignorant unto the will of the Lord, right? And prophecy, all right. And that is why we are always watching through the lenses of what the word of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is, because that is what's going to stand. Okay, so so that's pretty much it, right? You don't need to read the whole thing. If you want to, you can just go on Zero Hedge. But this goes to show you that where we're at right now is just the beginning of sorrows, right? That's why the Lord told us, when you see these things, the end is not yet. And we know that because there is a prophecy that has to take place before the end. Okay, so that's pretty much it, Lord willing. This is edifying unto the elect, right? Continue to watch, right? Continue to stay sharp, right? Continue to stay sober minded, right? And really, this is an endurance, right? You got to endure. You have to endure. You have to have patience. Okay, don't let these ups and downs, right, sway your spirit. Stay steadfast. Stay temperament, right? Okay, don't have the attrition of the tarrying be something that causes you to fall. That's why the scripture says, though it's tarry, wait for it shall surely come. It will not tarry. All right, but the ones that lets the attrition of, oh, it didn't happen right now, I'm just so mad that it seems like it's going to happen and it doesn't. That means that you're not really a part of the elect anyway, right? You go into this word attrition just to show you the action or process of gradually reducing the strength or effectiveness of someone or something through sustained attack or pressure. Okay, so you can't allow the gradualism, right, to be something in your mind as a negative thing, because anything that is gradually, if we're looking for the kingdom and we're gradually getting there, you're only going forward, right? There's only one way. There isn't multiple different ways. This isn't like the multiverse in what is that called? The Marvel Universe, where you have different outcomes. There's only one outcome, right? There's only one outcome, and the outcome is Babylon the Great, this world, this age being ended, Yahweh Shah returning to set up the kingdom of heaven. That's it. That's the only outcome. All right, so, with that, Lord willing, I'm going to end it giving all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, Shalom.